Most people think of like upstate New York, Western New York as like, Albany, if
Yeah.
that, and then Canada. And it's like, no, there's more. There's more.
This,
Actually told my mother, her exact words were, finally, bitch, can we go shopping already? I mean, I was a marathon runner at the time. I was this like really young Twinkie thing. Like it wasn't even really on my radar. And I spent most of that time overseas in Southeast Asia.
did your military experience whet your appetite for leather?
Yes, yes, and yes. I am getting a lot more involved in the leather community. Something I kind of, I'd say that's more within the last like 5 or 6 years. Um,
Mhm.
Feeling able and free enough to actually kind of explore that in my college days. I did college later in life, graduated in 2022. Um, at that point, I was a bit larger than I am now. I feel like the bear community has been um, definitely that, a community um, for a lot of those that are kind of getting unfairly othered, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. There's a corner of the internet for everybody.
I heard
Yep.
aversion to sauerkraut somehow, and I thought, well, that sounds kinky, and that can't possibly be what he said.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like people have been asking me like, "Oh, are you coming to Texas Bear Roundup? I bet your beard stuff would sell like crazy." And I'm just like, "I don't know that I'm ready for that, but maybe next year."
Yeah.
I went to the Eagle, Black Eagle in Toronto, Eagle in New York City, and I mean, it was a great time. It was a great time,
The bears and the leather guys are basically the same people wearing two different hats.
pretty
Um,
much.
and
There are a lot of people, especially on Instagram and YouTube right now, where like soap makers at home are having a moment. There are plenty of them around. It is easy to do, but it is really hard to make soap well. But really the art in it for me is the chemistry, the fuck around and find out of like what happens if I change this temperature like 2 degrees, or if I change the ratio of this, or like that is where I have my fun. And I
Yeah, Malcolm, I feel like I know you kind of well because, as I mentioned, I follow you on TikTok. You have a pretty wide amount of it there, which is because that I need to want to get your thoughts on the page. The guy that I'm texting with was the original "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" plaintiff that sued the government.
I definitely feel it, and I am social battery after all every one of those is always completely drained. I do it because I feel like queer visibility is more important than my own personal fears. If it's like in my profile pictures, yes. Everything else for like my personal Facebook, it is always set to friends only by default. There's very little, if almost nothing, that is public, but profile pictures are good to go. I know I look gringo as fuck, but I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
The overwhelming majority of my business is soap making. That is what
okay.
people come to me for consistently. That is the bulk of what I make. And I have a decent core of customer that come to me for beard care products, but 9 times out of 10, they're also buying a soap to pair it with.
Easton Mountain, um, north of Albany, outside of Saratoga Springs, is a gay men's retreat center, and they do many different things. And I think they do 2 retreats a year for kinksters. And so that's another place upstate where you can find leather and kink community.
So there is a very strong community organizer who is involved, has his hands in a lot of different pots, including helping to run Image Out, which is a local queer film festival.
When I turned 18, Nixon was drafting us, and I was
Jesus.
I was fortunate enough that it was my lot. They were doing the lottery at that point, and my lottery number was above 100, which was the cutoff. I'm here and I'm queer, and yeah, I go to the salt
Far
mines.
away.
People are looking for queer owned businesses and how to continue supporting the local community and economy. So I love that. I love that. And I want to make sure they can keep doing it. It's a hashtag that I'm trying to make happen. There's just some corner of the internet where a soap slinging leather daddy just really slaps.